Okay, with Beckett Van Stralen winning screenwriter from the horror festival, Engine of Evil. Was reading your script and I'm thinking the Disney movie, is it Herbie, where it's like this cute car and it's like helping all these people out. And this is the exact opposite. This is the 180 of the Herbie Disney movie, right? Where this car is pure evil, I guess.
Yeah, it's I would say it's very much opposite. And it's funny that you call it Herbie because Herbie was like definitely one of my favorite movies when I was
Oh,
growing up
wow.
as a kid.
Okay. So
Yeah.
it must be like an inspiration in a sense then.
Yeah, that's one of the sources of inspiration for Engine of Evil. Another one would have been like John Carpenter's Christine, and just like my love of cars, which I've had like since I was a kid. So it's kind of like the perfect marriage of like my passion with writing, and then yeah, kind of bringing in an evil car movie concept. But yeah, it was such a fun process to write this script, and yeah, I just feel like we need a few more evil car movies. It's been a while since we've had one of those, at least that I've enjoyed immensely. But yeah,
Yeah, when was the last Evil Car movie?
I live in like British Columbia.
Okay.
There was one that was filmed here not too long ago, I think. Well, like it's not too long ago, it's probably like almost a decade ago at this point. But that was the last one that I kind of watched, and I'm embarrassed to say I can't even remember the name of it. But I
Yeah.
feel like, it's probably one of those like the Lindsay Lohan Herbie movie is
Yeah.
probably like, I mean, not an evil car movie, but an autonomous car. That's like the last one that I can kind of
Yeah,
think of.
the
But
Lindsay Lohan is a remake of the 60s movie, right? So I'm old enough to
I,
remember that as a kid watching the older movie. But
yes,
but the new her the new version with her Lindsay Lohan, she's fantastic, by the way. She really
I
is a good actress back in the day. I don't know how she is now, but yeah, she was fantastic in all those movies.
oh yeah, like I loved her in Freaky Friday. I'm
Yeah.
ashamed to admit I have not seen her be fully loaded, but like grew up on all of the classic original movies. I think like Herbie the Love Bug, Herbie Goes Bananas. Those are the two off the top of my head.
There you go.
But
Okay.
but yeah, no, great movies.
Okay, so then I was also thinking about Transformers, when he gets the Sam, or is this, I think it's Sam, he gets a new car and it becomes a Transformer where the 16 years old, you get a new car, you're all excited, and then the car becomes evil, right? Yeah.
Yeah, it's I mean, yeah, I guess yeah, it's like every 16-year-old's dream to get a car, and Billy in particular is just I mean, if you're comparing him to Shia LaBeouf, his reaction is kind of opposite. He's like he wants more, but because it's not quite what he imagined, I guess. But yeah, yeah, I think that's a good comparison as well.
So, but there's comedic elements in your film. So is it safe to call this a horror comedy?
Yes, yeah, I would say it definitely is a horror comedy. I'm I'm in the process of turning it into a feature film, and I am just trying to go as unhinged as I can without losing the audience too much. But yeah, this is a horror film, or yeah, horror film, horror comedy, and it's also a bit of a love story as well. I think that doesn't kind of come across in the short script that we're talking about here,
Yeah.
but I'm in my development of it into a feature. It's about this 16-year-old girl who inherits the vehicle after Billy meets his demise in the script, and kind of goes on from there.
Well, would you
But
want
yeah,
to make this into a film? Like it seems to be ready to go if you want to make it into a short film.
so yes, yeah, I do think there's a larger story to be told. I think it also works as a short film in its current state,
Mhm.
but also like kind of how I envisioned it. And I wrote it while I was at my film school. And the assignment was like write a short film. It could just be a short film on its own. It could also be like the first scene, or like the first handful of scenes of a feature. And that's kind of how I approached it in my mind. This was always how this film that I wanted to write would begin. So yeah, I am looking at turning it into a short film, just to kind of like, I guess, similar to what Leigh Whannell did with Saw, kind of as a proof of concept, and then kind of see if that helps me to get the funding and backing
Yeah,
to
hundred
make it
percent.
into a full length feature.
Well, the Saw concept worked well for him, right? So how many movies they made?
Yeah,
13 of them, 13 Saw movies.
I've honestly lost track. I think it's like
Yeah.
11 or 12, or yeah,
Okay.
it could even be 13.
Yeah.
But
They
yeah.
they ran it to the ground in a sense where like they pushed it to they pushed the envelope as far as they could, and then finally enough people were like, okay, we've seen enough of these movies, we're over it, so don't make any more, right? So
Yeah, and they it just kind of changed. Like I actually rewatched the first one recently. And it feels like kind of a detective like procedural with a
yeah,
bit of horror in it almost. But then it kind of just turned into like gore porn kind of thing, and
it
just
was, yeah.
and became about, yeah, became about the traps, and just how, how terribly you can destroy a human being.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I stopped at the sixth one. But I've heard that the newest one is quite good. Like where I think it's like a sequel technically to Saw One, takes place in between Saw One and Two. So it's on my list.
Gotcha. Well, yeah, because
But
they have
yeah,
to go away for a while, they can come back, right, and reinvent the franchise, so which they'll do.
yeah, yeah. I mean, he's also the most interesting character in my opinion, out of everyone that we've seen in that franchise. So yeah, why not make him the focal point of the story and stuff like that.
So you wrote this in films, you started writing it in film school, the script?
Yes, yeah. It was. Sorry to cut you off. Go
No,
ahead.
go ahead.
Yeah, no, I wrote it in the final semester of my time at Vancouver Film School. And yeah, it was. I had an amazing teacher who is also a horror aficionado. Just like giving really good feedback, and just kind of laying out the rules of what really makes a good horror movie, and the tropes that you kind of want to follow depending on what you're setting out to write. And yeah, no, it was I felt like it was well received when I presented it in class. And then after that I worked on it a little bit more, but honestly it wasn't too different from that class that I kind of presented it in, and it seemed to resonate with a lot of people there. Um, and it also resonated with the excellent, I guess, recording that you guys did, because I did share it out, and a lot of people seem to enjoy it. So I'm totally humbled, and just really happy that it seems to resonate with the
Well,
people
that's
that are
amazing.
reading
I
it.
love to hear that. But there
Yeah,
there's a this was a horror class. Like you actually had a horror class at Vancouver Film School. I've never
yeah,
heard of
we
something like that.
yeah, the our teacher is like, if we could actually have a representation of how much film knowledge he had, he wouldn't be able to walk, because his brain is just like, he has so much experience watching films, analyzing them, writing them himself, and this teacher taught us genres throughout the whole year. So we had like action adventure, comedy, and then yeah, I mean, I was really looking forward to the horror class, which happened at the end of the year. So it was like a culmination of an amazing year that we had. And I also knew that, like, I was seeing that kind of down the road, that we were going to be taking a horror class. I was like, I know I have to write like an evil car movie. So so yeah, it was perfect timing.
So this has been on your mind for a while then. If you like you kind of knew you had
Yes.
yeah, okay.
Yeah. I think I mentioned this already, but I love cars.
Love cars.
I actually Yeah, I used to be an auto mechanic, and then I kind of
Oh, wow.
shifted over to auto body, and yeah, I just love I love cars. I love how, what when one gets into an accident, they can you take that totally wrecked car into a shop, you get a skilled technician to kind of fix it. And then when it comes out, it's just like, I don't understand how, I mean, I understand, but it's just shocking to me how something that's seemingly obliterated in some cases is like, looks like brand spanking new at the end of it, or at the end of the repair kind of thing. And yeah, so it's just, it's a culmination of my career and just wanting to kind of bridge my love of cars and horror into one thing. And it's funny because the car in the script was actually like a car that I used to have in my childhood. That was my family's sedan, the Dodge 600. It was we named it Scarlet. It was not evil in this case, but it served us very well for many years. So
When you
so
make the
that was kind of
film,
the inspiration.
but you when you make the film, you have to have that. You have to get that. You have to find that Dodge car.
I really hope so. It was a K car. So like I hope that it would be possible to find it, but I'm afraid that like, they're all rusted out and in scrapyards at this point.
Yeah.
But yeah, like, that would be the number one thing. But I don't know. I also think that something about like American sedans from like the late 80s, there's something just kind of evil looking about them. Like they're very square, they've got sharp edges in some cases, and they're very floaty when you drive them. And yeah, there's just something, I don't know, I feel like villains would often be driving in those like Cadillac Sevilles or Eldorados or whatever,
Yeah.
in a lot of films. But yeah, no, I think there's something inherently suspicious or evil about a nice old Cadillac. So yeah, it could be a Dodge 600. It could also be any like American sedan
Is
that
it
looks
one of
evil
those
enough.
cars that had like different colors, or is it like what color would what is in the film? What color are you imagining?
So if the stars aligned, I'd want it to be red.
Yeah.
And that was
Okay.
that was the color of our family's Dodge 600 growing up. Black I'll also settle for, but I've kind of imagined it being red. And that's like, yeah, I guess I can't remember if I specified it in the script or not, but yeah, yeah, that's how I envision it anyway. And I would have chosen a red one for the cover page I made, but I couldn't find a good looking red one, so I was like, okay, I'll do the black one. It looks
Gotcha.
evil enough, so
Yeah, the red one would be good. I'm just like doing a little searching right now, and like I guess someone found a Dodge 600 at junkyard a couple years ago. So
yeah,
they're still
I
going
think they're
around.
around.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think they're around. It's funny, like I'm friends with some people that I'm going to approach. I mean, we've worked together a little bit in the past, but I wanted to approach them about creating the short. And I actually have like, I mean, I don't know if it would have the same effect, but I have an old 87 Toyota van. Literally, that's what it's called, Toyota van. So I'm like, oh, maybe that could be used as well. I mean, it's kind of like, it looks like the Mystery Machine, but with the right lighting and everything, it could also look evil. You never know. But yeah, we got options.
It's an interesting company for
Yeah.
sure. The Dodge company, like it just keeps trucking, right? Like after all these
Oh yeah.
years. But
Yeah,
they weren't like they used to be, but they're still around, right? So
yeah, and yeah, Scarlet, our Dodge 600, like the engine was still going, the body rotted out
yeah.
before the engine died. So yeah, I remember my dad coming home and he was like, yeah, the mechanic told us he was like rubbing away the frame with his finger. So if we get into an accident, it'll just totally pancake. So yeah, Dodges used to be, I mean, I guess they're all right.
When
I have no hate for people that like Dodges, but they used to be good.
when did you get your first car?
I got my first car when I was 16, like Billy, I
Okay.
guess. It was something that I just really wanted. And it was a red Toyota Tercel hatchback. And the headliner, like the roof lining of the vehicle, it was like coming down. So I'm like a big guy. I'm like 6'7". So I mean, I guess I was probably 6 feet at that point, but the headliner would just rest on my head while I was driving it.
Yeah.
So definitely wasn't that glamorous, but definitely I remember really liking that car. And then just the realities of, having to pay for insurance and being a high school student, it was just like so it was a pretty short-lived experience, but yeah, I did that was my very first car.
Like, 'cause
And
you
then
gotta
yeah, I
work,
got
you
another one.
gotta have a job to pay for the gas, right? So,
Exactly. Yeah, and I think I was working at Starbucks at that time, and it wasn't, that much money, and I wanted to spend my money on other things, and it just didn't make sense to kind of keep it at that time. And we used to have at that point we had a smog program, so you had to like take your car into an inspection facility every year to make
mhm.
sure it passed. And I think mine had failed before I bought it, and then I was just like, you know what, I don't even want to deal with this. So, but luckily for older car enthusiasts and owners nowadays, that program doesn't exist anymore.
Uh,
So there's no more mandatory smog testing.
So I was on your website. It's a nicely designed website. You got all your work there, your narrative, and you have gaming reviews as well, right? I'm assuming you're a big gamer because you write reviews for it.
Yeah, yeah, I love video games. Also something that I've loved since I was a kid. I just feel like I just want to experience story in every single medium and format possible. And just like, looking at what they did with The Last of Us, I remember that kind of being a huge moment where I'm like, holy cow, like this is just the raw emotion that can kind of come through from a video game, when you look back at like in the early 90s, what kind of video games are coming out, and just that evolution is
Yeah.
incredible. I'm also a huge fan of Silent Hill, the original like 1 to 4, hugely inspiring for me as a writer, and just the stories that kind of those games tell. Just yeah, they're timeless for me. I would never tire of experiencing those over and over again.
Well, I see
And
that
Resident Evil as well.
you had a review for Metroid, like a newer Metroid, and that was like the first game for me when I was a teen, I guess, like a young teen, the Nintendo NCS, the first Metroid game, and I was determined to win that game. I did. I ended up winning the game, but that was like my first love. That was like my first like figuring it out game, I guess. So I like that. Yeah, I
Yeah,
liked it. And they've made like 10 different games since, so of Metroid. So it's
yeah,
good to
and
see.
you should be if you beat that, you should be very proud of yourself, because that is not an easy game to best and complete. It's quite difficult.
No,
But
it
yeah,
was
yeah, I love.
difficult, but I had to win every game. That's why I quit. I had to quit for like for like 2 decades, quit video games because I got a little bit obsessed with like winning. I had to win games, right? So
It's easy to fall down that rabbit hole.
yeah,
Yeah, the games are so good, especially nowadays as well. It's just like, you pick up the controller and then maybe it feels like 20 minutes, but then an hour and a half has passed, at
yeah.
least for me. So yeah, I love video games. And yeah, I actually, when I went to VFS, we can choose to specialize in television, film, or video games.
Mhm.
And I specialized in video games. But just with the industry being so turbulent, and just mass layoffs, I think like at this point this year, we're already we're already at or past the point of last year's full amount of layoffs. And I don't think that it's unfortunately, um, ending anytime soon. The layoffs are not stopping. I had
Why
tried
I
to
thought it
apply.
went like during COVID it went up like 300%, like video games sales and everything. Why all
Yeah,
the layoffs?
well, the they so my I mean, like I'm not a that, I guess, knowledgeable in the
Yeah,
kind of background financial planning decisions that video game companies make. But my assumption is that they saw this huge boom, and then just didn't really think about how, maybe in a few years, like we'll be able to leave our houses again and be able to do the activities that we did. So they budgeted way far down the line for all of these games to come out, and we're seeing the outcome of that, I guess, decision, especially last year, where it was just like it seemed like there was a heavy hitter being released every single month. So they just poured all of this money into developing so many different games. But then, those people that bought a PlayStation while they were locked down, they're not
yeah,
necessarily, being actively part of that ecosystem anymore, not actively buying games like they were when they were locked in lockdown.
yeah.
So I think they just stretched themselves way too thin, or just put in too much money into development.
Gotcha.
And then you've got the yeah, and you've got the other issue with these decision makers who won't take a pay cut out of their own salaries,
Sure.
to,
Yeah, the
I
corporate
guess, hold
greed, I
on to
guess,
that
right?
talent.
Right.
Yeah,
So, but it
but
it
yeah, it's too
reminds me
bad.
of the streaming industry where it's almost like there's so much content out there. You can play a game, for example, like I was just at the GameStop store uh just the other day at the mall, and you can buy these great games for like
Mhm.
20 bucks, right? Or you can buy the games for $79, right? And it's like I
Yeah,
got like Madden on my thing. I'm like I'm just gonna play the game for well, I don't need to buy the new Madden, right? Like but it's like there's so much content, just like the streaming service. It's like everybody's just watching The Office or like Ozark or whatever. There's so much content. It's like there's like, you know what I
yeah.
mean? It's like it takes forever to catch up to the new content. That makes sense.
Yeah, we are so like oversaturated with options.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'm like sitting there with my wife, trying to find something to watch, and then we're just like we spend half an hour just scrolling through.
Yeah.
Doesn't help that I have a lot of streaming services as well, but yeah,
Yeah.
it's hard to make a choice sometimes
No, but it's like that
when
with
you got
video
so
games,
many.
right? And it's like, and you got these like these games like from like even from like 10 years ago are pretty great. Like you know, like it's yeah, anyways. So I just want to talk
Yeah,
about
no, you're totally right.
I just want to talk about so on your website too. So you wrote Slash Her, which is a produced film, and then Mr. Whiskers and I, another produced film. So you're is that what you went to film school for to like to become a writer? Like, what do you is that your goal to be a screenwriter?
Yeah, I went to film school with the intention of becoming a video game writer.
Okay,
Because Vancouver Film School is one of the like only places in Canada, and especially like in my local city, where they specifically offered a video game writing specialization. The like Slasher, and the other one, All Things Must Come to an End, that happened to be a bonus, kind of going through the program. Students were approached to collaborate with the film production side of the school, and we got to write these two short
yeah,
films. I also did not write that by myself. I had a co-writer, named Sky, who helped. We worked on that together to bring that to life. I'm incredibly proud of both of those, especially Slasher. It's a horror movie, so
yeah.
I had a really good time writing that with Sky.
So you like so your goal is to be like to write video games.
That is like my end goal, I guess. And what I'm kind of trying to do, just because of how the games industry is right now, there's
Mhm.
just not a lot of room for like a junior writer who doesn't have like any actual experience in a studio and writing within a studio.
Gotcha.
um so I'm kind of like, well, you know what, horror movies are kind of, hot right now. And I love horror, so I'm kind of going to try to do a wider path into the industry and see if that see if that will help me to get in.
Gotcha.
But yeah, yeah, came in to be a video game writer, and then when we left, it just wasn't looking too rosy,
Well,
unfortunately.
horror
But
horror genre will always be around. There'll always be that fan base, and let's be honest, video games will always be around. But it's almost like a couple companies need to go under, like not to laugh about it, but basically, and then it's sort of like anything when there's a surplus. It's kind of like there's such an out parallel to the streaming services, right? Where like there's so much content, there's so many of them, and it's like people, like you said, you could spend a half hour not doing anything, but just figuring out what to do, right? So they'll all
yeah,
catch up.
yeah, I'm really hoping, because we did get to do a little bit of video game, well, not a little bit, we did a lot of video game writing. I got to like direct a motion capture scene that's actually was filmed in a studio, where AAA game companies film their own scenes, for these like huge, like $1 million+ games. So that was really cool. It's a really fun way to tell a story, because you're thinking about like many different dimensions, not just like this film script. It's like, what is the player going to do, to push the story forward? Like, is there, what kind of elements will the player be able to interact with? So it's, and like, I mean, I don't know. I think choice is a really important thing, especially in modern video games. I think, in some cases, like the Ubisoft games, maybe we lie to, or we lean too heavily on choice. I think there's also something really special about being pushed through an experience like The Last of Us, where you're just here to experience the story that we want to give you.
Yeah,
But just I guess to that point, like writing a video game with choice in mind is just a really interesting approach, and just it's really fun to kind of write that. I don't know if have you ever heard of Twine
no,
by any chance? It's like a it's like a non-linear narrative plotting tool. So we got trained in how to use Twine to kind of to think about player choice. Like, oh, if they make this decision, then this is what happens. If they make the other decision, this is what happens. So it's kind of easy to lay out non-linear branching narrative that way.
gotcha.
Um,
You have it
and
on
yeah,
your site, but
yeah.
it's coming soon.
Yes,
Yeah,
yeah. I wanted to clean up my demo. I should get to that.
yeah,
Uh, yeah, it's unfortunate because I do work a 9 to 5 office job at an insurance company here in my province, and so at the end of the day, depending on how that day goes, I'm just like, I'm very tired. But I've been engine has been my priority, so I've been working on that whenever I have time. And it's so much fun. I'm actually working on it with one of the writers of Mr. Whiskers and I, my really good friend Joao. So yeah, he's helped me to really bring elevate the ideas in
gotcha.
this script.
Well,
So I'm very
it all
excited.
sounds exciting. It does. It's a great script. It really is. It's top of the line. And I wish you the ultimate best of success. Let me know how it goes. And yeah, this should be made into a short film for sure. And then yeah, nice proof of concept for the future for sure.
Yeah, thank you so much, Matthew. I really appreciate it. Yeah.
Thank you. All right, let's talk soon.
Yeah, sounds good. Thanks for having